It's like, imagine your butt is a volcano and it's erupting. It's about what Giardia is like. What's going on, everyone? JRez back with another episode of the Rescueality Podcast, where we dive into the reality of rescue. Today, talking about something that not a lot of people talk about. I certainly haven't heard any episodes like this on any other animal podcast of any sorts, but that is ailments, illnesses, diseases that you can contract by rescuing animals, be it mostly cats and dogs, but a lot of it is transferred through stool. It can go through quite a few different ones, but today we're going to be mostly focusing on dogs and cats. Now, first one that I have a bunch of experience with is Giardia. It's like, imagine your butt is a volcano and it's erupting. It's about what Giardia is like. Giardia is a single-celled parasite that causes diarrhea and is passed through the stool of infected animals or humans. Infection happens when you swallow these parasites, which can survive for months in the environment. That sucks. Down here, Giardia is pretty common. I would say most rescues down here tend to have it. We certainly have had a lot of it throughout the years. I've had it at least half a dozen times. It's very, very transmissible, but it's not, fortunately, it's not deadly. Now, what it can do is suppress your immune system, which isn't good, especially in puppies. That allows everything to kind of sneak on in, but it's not super deadly. So keeping everything clean and cleaning up very well after any of the animals use the restroom, because it's mostly transferred through fecal matter. However, all it takes is getting just a little bit of poop in a little bit of water, and a couple dogs drink the water, and then they have it, then they use the bathroom back and forth. All of a sudden, most dogs can have it. Now, it's pretty treatable, and it doesn't take a super long time, but it's not the most fun. In people, though, I remember the first time I had it, I thought I was going to wither away into nothing. I could not move. I could not get out of bed. I felt like I had a fever, but I didn't. I had an ice pack on my head all day. Could do absolutely nothing. It was like the worst food poisoning, the worst stomach cramp you could possibly imagine. Would not recommend. 0 out of 10. So that's one of the most common ones. And fortunately, not that serious, just pretty uncomfortable and treatable. Now, another thing that a lot of people don't know that you can get from animals, especially dogs, is mange, which also isn't fun. My mom actually got mange before. She got mange because she carried and touched a dog bed that was infected with it, that was donated to us. And she was itching up a storm for at least a week, if not longer. Now, mange is caused by microscopic mites that burrow into the skin. Gross. The most contagious type is whatever that word is, mange, or commonly called scabies, which can be transmitted through direct contact with an infected animal, although mites, being alive, can be on the dog bed. Dog bed gets on your skin. Not fun. Again, not super deadly. I wouldn't say very deadly at all, but in terms of being uncomfortable and life just kind of sucking, it's going to be up there. And then treating mange on especially dogs is very treatable. It's also very common in a lot of places. And kind of going along with that, fleas. Fleas suck. Now, what's interesting about fleas is they carry the plague. That's not good. Fortunately, most of the time, fleas are just a nuisance with dogs and cats. However, you get a family, you get a colony, an invading army. It can cause a little bit of an outbreak on a ranch or in the house or something. I have been in a couple places, a couple different ranches, even a couple houses that had a flea outbreak, and they just tear you up. Little tiny bites, but you get 20, 30, 40 of those, and that whole limb is just on fire. But fortunately, nothing super deadly. However, in cats, what transmits not super often, but you can get cat scratch disease, which for cats isn't very fun. Now, kind of piggybacking on to fleas is ticks. Ticks is where things get not very good. None of these have been very good, but ticks actually have the chance to spread something that is both bad in humans and bad in animals, especially dogs and cats. The fleas can spread the plague. Not very common at all. Very, very, very small amount of people get infected by the plague, so it's not even really a worry. Ticks, however, can transmit Lyme disease to people, which isn't good, and then Ehrlichia to dogs in particular, not very good. Both of them are able to be taken care of with some antibiotics. However, they both can have some serious complications, especially if they aren't taken care of. And all it takes is one tick to bite you. To give you an example, I once pulled off 88 ticks off of one puppy, little puppy. I had tweezers. I had a cup full of hydrogen peroxide, which, because the ticks have blood and you pierce the ticks a little bit, hydrogen peroxide goes in, poof, tick explodes. Not fun though, especially having to do all that. I'm an amazing tick picker offer, and if you are going to pick ticks off, make sure you grab them by the head, because if you leave the head, you didn't fully get the tick and still there. Now, when it comes to Giardia and mange, it's about keeping stuff clean. When it comes to fleas and ticks, you have to kind of really treat not only the animal that is infected, but the area that's infected. A lot of people just treat the animal, but they don't treat the area. So you of course get there's a bunch of different products out there, some better than others. Then there's flea and tick shampoo, and then there's flea and tick spray. There's a bunch of different stuff where you can use for flea and tick on the animal. As for treating the area, getting a really good flea and tick spray, or what we have used, which is safe for animals, is diatomaceous earth, which is an extremely fine powder of like crushed up shells and crushed up this, extremely, extremely fine, which basically suffocates them, especially fleas. And you kind of just spread that around. Now, I would, of course, consult a vet before you go putting down a bunch of powder. For me in particular, it worked out on my ranch and it worked pretty well. It took a little bit of time in that instance, just because it was super hot out and it was pretty dry, and a lot of the surrounding bushes and everything were dead. So they kind of just made their way into that area. So I kind of went around that area and then went in, and it was over in a couple weeks, slowly but surely. And then all of my dogs were taken care of. We treated all our dogs. So it's funny how, you could get into some uncomfortability, being uncomfortable while rescuing, but you could also get some less dangerous diseases or pathogens, and you can get some that could actually be quite serious. Now, I'm not a medical professional, but over the many years I've been doing this, I've been bit by ticks, I've been bit by fleas, I've had giardia, I probably have had mange. I know I've had giardia 100%. My mom knows 100% she had mange. Both suck. If you want me to pick one or the other, I choose neither. So if you're going out there and rescuing, kind of just be aware of this. That's why we always keep wet wipes. We always keep hand sanitizer. And those are really the big thing, especially hand sanitizer. Can never use enough of that because it kind of just prevents anything. So that's kind of the couple main things that can be transferred. Of course, there's much more that can be transferred. Even just getting a cut from a puppy claw and then that getting infected adds a whole bunch of other things that could be going around inside of you. Ew, that's gross. Anyways, if you have any questions about anything else, or you're like, hey, I had a family member get XYZ or something, definitely let me know in the comments. But that wraps it up for this one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will absolutely see you in the next one.